Grant, speaking to you a few days on from Friday night, that second leg against Crewe, I imagine it's still fairly raw for you, what happened on Friday?
Yeah, I've obviously taken 3 or 4 days to reflect on it, have a watch of it back and things like that, and I guess when I take stock of the season in a whole, it's been really positive, and really proud of the turnaround from the boys, particularly the second half of the season, and how strong we looked. We certainly been the best team in the division from probably end of January onwards in terms of the results we picked up, and that's something we can be really proud of. The performances, the results, how strong we looked, the togetherness of the team, the work ethic of the team, and the connection with the fan base has certainly grown in a short space of time. So obviously, yes, really disappointed, and I think it'll hurt for a long time, given the nature of how we went out and the penalties, etc. But we got to dust ourselves down and go again, and we certainly will do that. And we look forward to the challenge ahead of next season.
Does it eat away at you? Because I know you still reference back to that one at Charlton a few years ago during your first spell. Will it always be there in the back of your mind?
Yeah, it'll always be there. But what will always be there as well is that second half of the season. That momentous achievement for us really to go to 10 games. I think 10 games in the spin we won. Performances, the results, how the team was playing, the identity of what we're looking for. I think everything started to come together, and that was really pleasing and proud to be a part of. So hopefully more of the same coming.
We obviously didn't talk about it a lot at the time, that kind of run of games. It was very much one game at a time, but do you take a lot of pride in the fact that you matched a club record, 140 odd years of club history? You matched that the best run that this club's ever had? Yeah,
it's only now when you sit back and you think, it's always a bit raw. The emotions are raw after a game, and they have been really for a few days for myself and I'm sure the players and the staff. But when you sit back and you look back and you think, our centre forwards got 24 odd goals this season. We've equalled a club record. The team's grown, the fans are growing with us. There's a real connection, and it feels like we're getting something going here. And when you look back at all that, I had a good chat with the players this morning. We had them all in this morning and just signing the boys off with their plans and etc. And speaking, obviously, a little bit of a review of the season was when we first come into the football club, we could sense there was a real sense of low around the stadium, around the training ground. Some of the players that have been here over the last few years, and there's been a sense of disappointment, a feeling. We could feel that. We could feel it was like, you were treading on eggshells a little bit, and it was always going to take a bit of time to start getting everybody to believe in what we're trying to do. And I think once we had that, once we started to get that, once the turn of the year came and we picked up a few results and people started to believe, then there was no stopping us really, and I could sense that belief coming back. The fans have been great with us all season, but I could sense that real belief that they've got a team they can be proud of here, and it's what we aim to do, and hopefully in the future also.
I'm going to ask you about you coming in a year ago, pretty much to the days we speak now. Were you surprised by how you found the club at that point when you come back, given where it was when you left?
Yeah, I mean, like I said after the game, this football club should not be at this level, and look, it's our job to get us out of this level. But it's this club has got, it's so well run behind the scenes everywhere. That you look at the stadium, the structure, the staffing structure. You look at the training ground, the investment that's going to go into the training ground over the summer with new buildings, etc., being put in there. We're also improving the staffing structure from a first team point of view. It's got everything to kick on, and we appreciate that support from Terry, from Gavin, and from the owners to give us that best chance to move this club. And I think when we first came in, we were a little bit surprised of how low people felt, and to be honest, it's probably only hit home over the weekend when you see the amount of messages that comes through, whether it's on social media or messages to me on my phone or emails or wherever it may be, and people are saying how much they feel much better coming to the football club, and even people inside the club, you know, who probably weren't enjoying the work and stuff like that, and it probably hits home a little bit, and you think, do you know what, we've actually done all right. You know, we've had an okay season, particularly the second half of the season, and we're starting to get this club back to where I feel it should be.
I want to touch on the kind of that first half of the season, and it felt for a long period like you weren't a million miles away from where you wanted to be, just things weren't falling. What do you put it down to? Is it that hangover, that what was already here, in terms of that low feeling that you mentioned? Obviously injuries played a part as well.
I think that's a massive thing personally, really. I think that was huge. There was a real sense of low, sense of no expectation, really. As well as it's never easy, you know, obviously a new management staff coming into a football club, players having to adjust to that, different ways of maybe training and playing and coaching new players. I think there was quite a few, I can't remember how many we brought in this summer, maybe 11 or 12 really quickly. So that was always going to be difficult to gel them in with a group that was already here. I think, like, if I look back at it, and I mentioned this morning to the players, and when we give them the plans for the summer, when we came back for the first day of pre-season, it felt like half the squad wasn't ready for what we wanted to do, and that's always difficult as a manager when you go into a football club and you haven't seen what the plans are in place, what they meant to be doing in the off season, etc., etc. We work differently. I'm not saying that way was the wrong way, but we work completely different for what we want to do, so everyone's different. So we had a lot of that where players were just not ready to train the way we wanted to train, hence why we picked up probably a lot of injuries and at the first half of the season, and injuries that probably we couldn't control. You know, there was a lot of injuries that we couldn't control. It was just you know, things that happened for, you know, really, really strangely, and there was all that we had to take into account. Changes in staff and structure, changing above. You know, there was a lot going on, and we had to try and be calm and be in control of what we're doing. Continue to keep the positivity around the training ground, get the players believing in themselves, and it took a bit of time. There's no getting away from it. And I agree with you. There was some really good moments in there when you think, oh. But once we had that moment, we end up taking 1 or 2 or 3 steps back with the next game. So we didn't have that consistency. We didn't have a consistent team selection. We didn't have a consistency in our performance, which in result put us in the position where we're in. But we always had that belief, you know, that myself, Cliff, Glove, Cops, Kyle, particularly that first team staff, from the coaching point of view, that we could get going. And you know, I think we did since the turn of the year.
You said, as people asked you quite a lot in kind of what sparked that second half of the season and that run, particularly from the start of February, that you'd probably be able to reflect on it afterwards. What can you put that down to now, in terms of, based on everything that you've just said about that first half of the season as well, what did click?
Well, certainly, you know, I think that the injuries certainly helped. You know, we started to get better in terms of the injury front. We got players back and they stayed back. You know, they didn't play 1 or 2 games and then go back into the treatment room. I think what was happening in the early part of the season is we'd get some players back, but then another couple of players would end up in the treatment room. So that definitely improved. The belief, the standards, everyone pulling in the same direction. The recruitment in January was a massive factor in terms of our turning our form around and bringing characters into the club to improve us and ability to improve us. And I think that was, you know, they were the main factors for us, really. Also, I would say the calmness from Terry, the calmness from Gavin. Nobody was panicking. You know, I know people from the outside looking in were probably thinking, you know, what's happening at Doncaster. We knew it'd take time, and I think Terry and Gavin knew that also. So I think that kept everyone nice and calm. You know, I don't think anyone was really on edge or anything. I think everyone was quite calm, and we all just worked together to try and get the club moving in the right direction.
There's an element there where you've got to continue to drive standards as well, which is something that you're all about. It's not a complacency in your position, it's a confidence that you will get there in the end anyway.
Yeah, we're massive on that anyway. You know, myself and Cliff are huge on that, and we take real pride in making sure the standards are up to speed and up to scratch. And I guess that's another thing. Maybe took a little bit of time. Players understanding what our standards were about, and even and some of our coaching staff. So I guess it was a byproduct of all of that, which I think turned the season around.
You kind of touched on it, the support of Terry and Gavin in doing what you do, but also what's going to come in the summer in terms of all the changes down at the training ground.
Yeah, I mean it's been the support we've received has been outstanding, and you know it's nice to see Terry and Gavin. You know, they come down to the training ground quite a bit, and I think that's important at any football club when you have that, you know, togetherness of the owner being around the players. Terry even came into the changing room after Gillingham, and the boys really appreciated that. So having that, you know, and the support that Terry have given us, you know, I know I've mentioned a few times about Cantley and making that place look nice for everybody. Really, it's obviously, when you think about it in hindsight, really it is a nice training ground for League 2 level. But we don't want to be at League 2 level. You know, we want to be better than that. And we had a chat with myself and David Rennie, with Gavin and Terry, and to improve the facilities down there just improves everything. You know, I think it gives everybody a mindset, a change, a shift that, you know, we mean business, and we don't want to be just standing still. We want to be better than what we're doing. And that'll be massive for the players, not only for the first team players, but for the under 18 players, for the rugby team. You know, even that, you know, when they're using it, it's that facility change down there, a bigger gym and more space for the players and things like that will be massive for everything, and it'll just make us better.
The return and release list is out now. Your thoughts first on the players that are moving on and leaving the club this summer?
Yeah, it's never easy, and it's probably one of those moments where you don't look forward to as a manager. But ultimately, I'm paid to make decisions, and I had to make some tough decisions over the last few weeks and months. And firstly, we thank all the players on that list who are leaving the football club for their efforts while they were here. But I guess the big one for me, and probably the most difficult one for me, was speaking to Tommy Rowe. You know, I toyed about speaking to Rowe 3-4 weeks ago, but I felt he was in a good place. I had a chat with him today, and really difficult because I've got so much respect for him. I actually played with Rowe. I've managed him twice now, but you know, ultimately we want to try and improve and get better. And you know, Rowe was fine when I spoke to him this morning, understood the decision and how I want to take the club. So yes, they're always difficult conversations, but ultimately all we want is the best for the football club.
Rowe, ultimately a tremendous servant for the club over the two spells.
Yeah, he's massive what he's done at this football club, you know, and his personality, his character will be sorely missed around the building. But you know, these are football decisions that I've had to make to hopefully try and make us better. But I know Rowe, you know, I'm sure he'll go on to keep playing football, and you know, at some level wherever he may end up. And he's been outstanding for Doncaster.
Confirmation that contracts have been offered to Luke Molyneux, Harrison Biggins and Akib Adelican. You mentioned the other day that you'd be setting deadlines on that. How will that play out over the next? Yeah,
we've been speaking to Mols, Hacks and Biggo probably for the last 2 months. and different things and different agents and etc. etc. It's it was always difficult given the run we're on. We didn't want to try and keep delving and putting them off the game. So we've been on and off a little bit, not too much, but we'd love to keep them. We'd love to keep the three of them. I think the three of them have been in tremendous form, particularly from the turn of the year. Very dangerous in terms of how they play. So the club has been good. Terry and Gavin have been really good with the offers that they sent out to the boys, and I guess the ball is in their court now, really. I spoke to all three of them this morning. They know we want to keep them here. We'd love to keep them here. They've got a real rapport with the fans, and sometimes in football that's one of the massive things you need, is to have that rapport with your fans, and I think them three do. So we'll see how they go. We've obviously spoken to them and said, listen, we need a decision by a certain date, because we can't be waiting all summer and for us to obviously miss out on signing them. So let's hope they agree. We'll see, but I think they all know where they are at this present time.
Attention will quickly shift to incomings this summer. Obviously it was a very, very busy summer last year. How much are you looking to do this year in terms of bolstering?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as busy as last summer, but we will be looking to certainly improve the team and the squad. There's obviously positions that we need and needing to fill with players leaving, so we're working very hard. Already we've been working hard probably from January onwards anyway. So myself, Cliff, Glove, Cops, Kyle, obviously in the goalkeeping department as well, have been working on targets, and hopefully once we have some news, we'll be able to filter it back.
What are your priorities in terms of the type of characters that you're looking for to bring in?
Oh, listen, the character's huge. I always speak about the character. The character's massive, and I think you see that with the recruitment that we've brought in this summer. I think the Owen Baileys and the Joe Ironsides early part of it, and the Keebs and Timmy in the second part, Matty Craigs and things like that. So character's huge for us, and obviously ability is really important as well. So there'll be a bit to do in the summer. Not as busy as last summer, because I think we've got the nucleus of a really good squad. In
terms of the size of the squad, it obviously got quite large and kind of necessary with the number of injuries that you got in the first half of the season. You're looking at bringing that down a little bit.
Yeah, just to trim it, tune it, make it a bit more streamlined, really. So we have, good competition in every position, but we don't need 30 odd players like we had here towards the end of the season. So it's given us an opportunity to trim the group, but also keep some of the good young players that we feel are going to take a wee bit of time to develop, but they'll certainly develop being in and around us, and maybe some games out for long for them.
We touched on injuries a little bit, but you feel that the situation with injuries and fitness and things like that has improved over these last few months, and particularly since David Rennie's. Yeah,
it'll certainly improve. I mean, David's experience and know-how will certainly help that. The club has been great to let David bring in an assistant physio as well. In the sports science department, there'll be more sports scientists coming in to make us better, so that the players get what they need, and everything's more smoother for us. But David's experience is huge, and it was always going to take a wee bit of time for David to get his fingers in there, and you'll see the improvement and things. And I think you started to see that back end of the season with the fitness of the players, the robustness of the players. The off-season plan that David has set for the players is, one of the best I've seen. I seen it a few weeks ago, but we showed it to the players today. So the way it looks is the players will get a couple of weeks off, and they start straight back into their plan. We want to come back, hit the ground running in the first week of pre-season. Obviously the games we've done the games already, so the games will come out in due course, I'm sure, for the fans to see. But we want to hit the ground, from the 1st of July onwards, we want to hit the ground running.
So back in 1st of July, and a trip abroad as well as part of pre-season?
Yeah, we're going to go abroad to Portugal for 5 or 6 days, I think it is, and it's always good to get the boys away for a week, and those trips are really important, I feel. They're really important to to bring the group together, to set your stall out for what we want to achieve in the season, our aims, our goals, our responsibilities, and we'll do that in the second week of pre-season.
You're starting to feel that excitement for next season already?
Look, listen, I'm still a wee bit raw from the other night, to be honest with you. But look, once the dust settles, and it's starting to settle a little bit, and once we start moving with some new players coming in, etc., then I think the optimism builds, and it's great to have the feeling, and the optimism of our fans, and they certainly play a huge part. So we want to continue to build that rapport and that togetherness with those, because I think it'll be a real force. Yeah,
you've mentioned it a few times, but that connection, it's certainly back, and the belief that you share as a group, as a squad, that seems to be there among the fans as well. Have you felt that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the players were, after the game or before the game, even speaking about before the game, they were just like, wow, what an atmosphere out there, and even just seeing some of the videos back and watching the game back, and just to see the stadium full, it's just great, and you just want to be a part of that. And this football has got the ability and the people around the city to do that, and we just want to engage everyone with this football club.